Hello, lovely listeners. Elysia here, back with Luke again for yet another extra episode for your Silo Season 3 pleasure. We will soon have more episodes than they have light bulbs remaining. This is our second roundup of community discussion this season, this time focusing our mailbag on episodes 3 through 6. And Luke, hit him with our usual spoiler policy.
Okay, so the discussion will be spoiler-free beyond what's already aired. That means full spoilers through Season 3, Episode 6. Elysia can bring up anything from the books that's already happened on screen. No discussion of book or trailer stuff that hasn't been on screen yet. But we will feel free to discuss the show universe short story The Mystery of the Pez, about which we released a special bonus episode last week.
And of course, if you're looking for the full spoiler discussions with all the book details, stay tuned until the end where I'll tell you more about the book club. So we have to say mailbag episodes are regular episodes. We never watch ahead of what we have, what we're talking about. For mailbag episodes, we're doing them live. So we have watched through episode 7, both of us, because we're about to record for that next. But we also will not be talking about episode 7.
We also will not be talking about episode 7.
Yes. So firm line in the sand. I have full editing power to make sure that nothing slips through.
Because it will, because it's me and I can never remember what happened in what episode.
I'll remind you where the line is drawn. But I will say episode 7 is my favorite of the season so far, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any similar feelings, but...
Episode 7 was very good. I'm not going to say anything other than that. Otherwise, I'm going to get in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, even though I have read the books, this show is like way off piste in a way that I'm personally enjoying, but it means that I do have room to speculate about, like, I have no idea what's going on with the light bulbs. Let's all find out together. So other than that, if I can't say anything, I will keep mum. Shall we get into the mailbag?
Let's.
Now opening the listener feedback channel.
So we are going to talk through feedback and community discussion episode by episode, but we will be focusing mostly on the most recent episodes, of course, and, checking in on how people are feeling about the plot now and going forward. But there will be more highlights and emails to bring up along the way, starting with, we got an email from Billy after episode 2, but it was after our feedback went out for that. So he says, "Hey guys, so glad to hear a new episode in my ear after such a long wait for season 3. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. At first, I was not pleased with the amnesia storyline. I think it's a bad trope stereotype. But after watching the second episode, I've had a complete turnaround. I think it's actually quite clever from a technical standpoint. We know the book split up, and the Donald Daniels storyline is standalone. This would obviously not work in the show, as it would be too much of a shock not seeing Juliet for a whole season. Taking away Juliet's memory gives us a new storyline to follow alongside our DC storyline in a way that eventually she will, presumably, regain her memory and continue the original storyline with minor tweaks from the Dust Book. It also gives us more context into what's happening in DC. I think it's quite a clever way to have our cake and eat it too. Anyways, keep up the great work, and I'm excited to see where the rest of the season goes. Billy." So, yeah, thoughts, Luke?
Well, thanks for the feedback, Billy. So, Elysia, as the book reader then, so am I right in thinking Wall is from what we would consider in the show the Silo 18 point of view? Then there is another book that is entirely the DC storyline, and then they come back together in the third book.
So the second book has the DC storyline. Also, there's stuff we're probably not going to get revealed until the finale about this, which you're starting to hear about Silo 1. That's a big part of it. And then also it does contain like flashbacks to both Silos 17 and 18. So that's where in Shift in the second book is where you get the backstory of Solo growing up alone in the silo, where you get the story of the past revolution 140 years ago that features that character Mission I keep bringing up. And yeah, so it's kind of skipping through time, tracing. It starts with the DC storyline, and then continues. You see more from of what happened in the past from a different perspective, and I assume that's going to be more next season. And so what they've done is, because Juliet doesn't show up until the last page of it, so what they've done is they're shifting some of the Dust storyline into here, which I think makes a lot of sense. There's a big climax halfway through the book Dust that I think would make a great season finale for that part of the story.
Okay, I mean, I just think it's another sort of, we see this often. We've seen it with Game of Thrones. We've seen it with House of the Dragon. I imagine you see it with I haven't watched the Vampire Lestat, but I imagine you see it there as well. Well, books and television are just different. They're different art forms. They're different formats. They require their stories to be structured in different ways so that the audience is not spending too much or too little time with one character. Because the thing about a book, whether it's a physical book or a Kindle or an audio book, is you can put it down and you can resume it, at a later date. Whereas with TV and movies, you should ideally be watching an episode through beginning to end in a single sitting. So you've got to break it down into 45-minute, hour-long chunks that are narratively satisfying and that give the audience a sense of where all or most of the characters are at any given point.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think book readers are just like asking show onlys who think that the DC storyline is irrelevant. I mean, I have trouble understanding that, but just because my question is always like, where'd this come from? How'd this begin? So
yeah, I've got to say, speaking as a show only viewer, I've never thought the DC storyline was irrelevant.
No.
I think it adds something to the story, like you said, in terms of showing us how we got here. But I do worry is the wrong word. I am interested how Daniel and Helen's storyline is going to resolve, because, like I talked about on the last episode review, either they've got to go along with the idea of the silo, or they've got to be eliminated in some way.
So you're really nervous for them.
Yeah, those are really the only two options.
That they either break bad or die.
Yeah, they either break bad. I can't see what a third option would be.
You know what the Hugh Howey answer to this would be? He'd be like, every character dies eventually. We've discussed before, they have been somewhat more conservative, and they started the same way as the books, like, Allison, Holston, Johns, Marnes, boom, 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 boom. That's exactly how the books begin. But they've there are definitely characters walking around who are dead in the books, and then Papa Nichols is gone.
Yeah, and I was like, for 2 seasons desperately trying to kill off Papa Nichols at every opportunity.
Well, but anyway, yeah, Billy was specifically talking about the memory storyline, and I think this is very well put, Billy. Exactly what I would say as well. And I hope people now start to see why it's creating a greater tension. And I think, there will definitely be more ties together with it for sure. So, all right, shall we get into episode 3 feedback?
Yeah, let's.
So we have from Rebecca Fan on Discord. I'm enjoying the season so far. This is after episode 3, so I hope you still are. And they said it is so much better than the second season. While I still like the Silo story better, I like the characters of the flashbacks. The story is good, but I keep wondering, where are Mulder and Scully? LOL. Camille is fantastic. Props to Alexandria Riley, and is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. Finally, thank God Juliet has something interesting to do this season. When the reporter gets fired, and at the veterans gathering, there was some old in a suit and white hair lurking about. During the mythology episodes of the X-Files, there was always someone lurking about. Come to think of it, the flashback sequence have an X-Files vibe. And then they wrote in again after episode 4, getting the X-Files vibes again, especially with Daniel. The dude mumbles, is sarcastic, and sleeps on a couch, though not voluntarily. Helen has Scully's fire, but not her conviction. But that's understandable. I did like that the writers made Helen want to back away from her investigation. I do wish they had explored that part a bit longer. Luke, you always have the X-Files connections.
Yeah, so actually, I don't know if people are aware of this, but there is a director's cut of X Files, I Want to Believe, which is the second X Files movie, coming to Disney Plus. I think next week. I think we're recording this on the 9th of August. So yeah, I think it's out on Disney Plus on the 15th. Chris Carter, the creator of X Files and the director of that film, was always very unhappy with how the cinematic cut of that film came out, and he's always wanted the opportunity to recut it, as far as I can tell, to make it more gory, because they wanted when it was released, they wanted a PG-13 rating. So yeah, I think that's out on Disney Plus this coming week. As far as the analogy between Mulder and Scully and Daniel and Helen, I can definitely see some of Mulder and Daniel, and it would be interesting to ask Hugh Howey whether he's an X-Files fan. Yeah, and there is definitely smoking man energy to Henry.
Okay. Yeah, I think I wonder, Rebecca Fan, how you're feeling about Camille now. The character, we'll get to some feedback that kind of wants to say maybe Camille isn't as bad as we think she is. So I'm curious where you lie on that spectrum as well. Let's jump to Josh Liu, who said, I'm listening to the podcast and the X-Files 1013 screen name is a great Easter egg. I can still hear that very disturbing child say, I made this over the 1013 logo after every episode. Maybe y'all already noted this, but oh, no, we didn't note this, Josh Liu. Thank you. IMB tracked comment is Steve's cohort saying that they're being tracked, right? Seems Steve was as well.
That is a very good spot, Josh. Like, well done. You get serious internet points for that. Serious internet points. Well done.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wonder who that suggests that this other person that they're looking for, who Steve was talking to, is not Henry or from the government, like the person he was playing chess with and the person he presumably got that audio recording from. Is not Henry or from the government, but is indeed, who probably this person in Moldova who recorded it or something like that.
And I mean, let's bear in mind, we don't actually know what happened to Steve. We have Henry's explanation of what happened to Steve, but we don't know whether that's true or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, so many moving pieces in this show. I'm like, I know there's 4 episodes left, but there's a lot to do. Okay, Soph YB says, and so this is in response to a discussion on the Discord about there being a separation between, the economic system of something and the governance system of governance. So, for example, whether you are communist, like we were saying in the silo, we were talking about childcare and the things like that are in place, is not related to being a democracy or being, in the case of the silo, we find out a dictatorship. So on this topic, Soph YB says, I work in climate justice litigation, and one criticism we Westerners get from Central and Eastern Europe and Global South colleagues is that our rhetoric conflates capitalism with exploitation and oppression and fetishizes socialism when people growing up in Soviet Union, for example, have a different perspective on freedom and agency. So now I try to focus on good governance safeguards, not that kind of safeguard, and separation of powers. I like how in the show they aren't naming political parties because it's asking the bigger questions about humanity, control, and what is worth fighting for. And just to add to this, Maureen D said, I had an interesting conversation with someone from Slovakia years ago in the 90s. She said that before democracy came, they all had jobs and the kids had education. So they were all like, thanks a lot. It burst the myth that I'd have of us, the saviors. And I feel like I should have asked Abby, who grew up in Romania, to weigh in on this. But yeah, I've heard from an older generation, there's a nostalgia for the communist days, but I think really it's not like, and people say, oh, democracy ruined it. I don't think democracy ruined it. I think capitalism did, personally. What are your thoughts, Luke?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that very much depends on who you speak to generationally, and I think it also depends on what country you're talking about, because it's very reductive to label like the entire Soviet Union and Eastern Europe as one place. Countries have had like vastly different experiences of a post-communist time period. So you can't really compare the likes of Lithuania and Estonia, for example, to somewhere like Belarus or Kazakhstan. What strikes me? So I get a fair number of students from former Soviet republics doing the strategic studies program at St Andrews, and what strikes me about them as a group is their sort of commitment to. No, let me rephrase that. Is their understanding of security is perhaps different from a British, American, Western European understanding of security, in the sense that they are often from nations who are either actively engaged in a conflict, like Ukraine, for example, or somewhere like Azerbaijan or Armenia that have very recently been engaged in conflict, or somewhere where military security is much more of an existential threat. So somewhere like the Baltic states, for example, where you've had generations of Russian occupation going back hundreds of years, and national independence is very recent. They treat issues of strategy and military security much more as live issues than, say, German or French or British or American students do.
Yeah.
I don't know if that really answered the question, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if it's more a topic of thought, of conversation. So if anyone wants to jump into the episode 3 chat and pick up on this, we would love to hear your thoughts about this as well, or send in an email and we'll discuss it in the episode. But I think it boils down to the same thing. Everything boils down to, and people hate this answer, but it's more complex than you think it is. It's
a land of contrasts.
Yes. Okay, so Sophie B continues, on a lighter note, we are renovating our house, and as a fan of mid-century modern retro, I can't help noticing how many of the lamps and wall lamps in the silo are from made.com. So if you like the silo Art Deco style, check out made.com. They are not sponsoring us, but please let them know to feel free to.
Yeah, I'm going to say, if they want to, they are more than welcome to. Right. That name again is made.com.
And Sophie B says, I'm just here for Kathleen Billings' good witch energy. The woman knows her herbs, challenges the establishment, and is inspired by images of nature. Bring it on. Like, that's such a good way to sum it up, because these things about these 3 things are all true. She is actually the silo witch, and I love it. Soph says, just waiting for the algo to say, good catch. We nearly implemented the safeguard, but your suggestion makes phoenixes out of gorillas, Camille. Would you like me to put together a list of 5 alternative ways to kill a bunch of innocent minors? If you like, I could export it to an Excel spreadsheet just because. The last part's extra devilish. You have used up your daily allowance of genocidal wisdom. Please upgrade your subscription to fascist supremo level or check back in at 0.10.
Oh well done, Soph.
But thank you, Soph. That definitely lightened it up. So still discussing episode 3, Jenny said, I keep thinking about how the algorithm told Camille that if Lucas was attempting to reach another silo, that would be considered a safeguard level event. This got me thinking about experimental controls. What if the silos are just some grand experiment? So people mixing from one silo to another would ruin their data. But what is the experiment? I'm starting to think Luke has the right idea. Aliens have taken over Earth and humanity has been reduced to test mice in a lab underground, or maybe silos mixing with other silos would just cause too much creative thought and potential for progress or unrest.
See, this is the issue I have with the whole idea of it being a social experiment. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but you'd have to get 50,000 people to want to move into, or you'd have to get 10,000 people or however many people to want to move into the silos.
But you assume they're volunteers. I know a lot of people, when they bring up stuff like this, are also thinking about Fallout. I don't know if you're a fan of that world.
No, I haven't watched that.
But it was sort of like people wanted to live underground to save themselves from the apocalypse, but they didn't realize that they were becoming experiments.
Okay,
And that's the Fallout explanation.
So I suppose the what the fuck cloud could just be a red herring to persuade people to want to move into the silos. Because even leaving aside the ethical and experimental implications for a second, how are you going to force, there's 10,000 silos times 50, so that's what, 500,000 people?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you
500,000, yeah, 500,000.
Yeah. So that's 500,000 people. How would you force, even if you wanted to, let's assume that you want to, and let's assume you're okay with the ethical implications, how are you going to force 500,000 people into silos without the rest of the world noticing? And it still doesn't explain why the air is toxic outside.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not saying it can't be a social experiment. I'm just saying there has to be something else going on at the same time as well. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the answer has layers. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think this is picking at very interesting, and particularly Jenny's highlighting why would you want to keep silos apart and saying that when you mix, yeah, sure, for social experiment things, you want to keep each sample clean, but also, or uncontaminated by the others, basically, no cross contamination. But they do, in general, try to limit communication in a lot of ways. We've heard, with not having elevators, or they emphasize this actually more in the books than in the show, but it's expensive to send computer messages, so you have to do it by porter, so it's slower and it's harder to organize, blah blah blah. Yeah, definitely all that stuff in the order. So good point, Jenny. Now, here's kind of a bombshell thing that it wasn't sent to us. I just stumbled across this on Reddit, but it appears to answer the question of what year the flashbacks take place in. And it is, I'm sorry, I didn't look closely enough. I saw this computer code on the screen that was scanning Daniel's ID in episode 3 when Hacker Steve scanned Daniel's ID. And I didn't notice that there's a date in there that says it's November of 2024.
Okay.
November 27th, 2024 is the last time that ID was used.
Okay.
Or the last time he accessed the building. So,
okay.
So thank you to Gloucester, who, am I saying that right? Gloucester Dave.
Yeah, Gloucester.
Okay. Thank you, Gloucester Dave, on the Silo TV series Reddit. Okay, so let's take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll get into episode 4 and beyond. Be right back.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
All right, so checking in with Jenny again for episode 4 about why all the pickle talk. They are a metaphor for humans pickling in the silos.
Jenny, that hadn't occurred to me, but you know what? That is a bloody good metaphor, actually. I'm liking that.
And Soph YB says about Gloria's continued absence, though Sophie Thompson, aka Gloria, is quite a big name for a one-season cameo, but Silo is a who's of British darlings, also Emma Thompson's sister. She also married Bernard in 4 Weddings and a Funeral. And I'll just say that I really appreciate everyone's continued support in my quest for Gloria.
Yeah. By the way, when she said she married Bernard, we're not talking about Tim Robbins,
No,
the character in 4 Weddings and a Funeral was named Bernard.
Right. Not played by Tim Robbins, but yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a really funny coincidence if it was, though.
Yeah.
And then the last one for episode 4, Brandles says, there was a question on the podcast about why Georgia. I immediately thought of the Georgia Guidestones. Maybe the silos are in Georgia because the Guidestones are nearby, and the founders thought when the world was okay to live in again, the people would come out and see them. Are you familiar with the Georgia
No,
Guidestones?
I'm not familiar with the Georgia Guidestones.
So I didn't realize they had actually been taken down. I know there was a lot of push to do so, but so they are no longer there now, but they were there from 1980 to 2022. So it was also Hugh Howey was writing these books during that time as well. But it was like this big statue with, and maybe someone else wants to write in with more information, but it's basically it's biblical text. It's like a big Bible statue, more or less.
Okay.
But it's the way it's set up. Yeah, it's kind of, some people called it the American Stonehenge because it's like these propped up things. But so yeah, if it were a biblical society is the implication, it'd be like you come out and you see this and receive the word of God. Although the only religion we've seen so far is founder and Juliet worship.
Okay. If they do that at the end of season 4, they have to get a CGI Charlton Heston, to turn up and read out
Right.
the 10 Commandments.
And then you see the Statue of Liberty sticking out of the wasteland.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Brendels continues, also, Shirley's scar, could it be where she took out her birth control device? In the first episode of season 1, Sheriff Holston's wife cut hers out of her hip and goes to the cafeteria bleeding to tell everyone. And I just wanted to give you credit, Brendels. Here's your internet points for being the first person I saw to mention this and plant this in my head. And it turns out to have been correct.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to take a couple of internet points off you. Her name was Alison.
Okay, right.
She's not Sheriff Holston's wife. Her name was Alison. Yeah.
She was her own person. She was a hacker. Okay. let's get into episode 5, where things start to, people like this episode. It's a lot of people's favorite episode, I think. We got an email from Reese O, and Reese says, here from Arizona, she, her, absolutely obsessed with this show and love listening to you guys afterwards. Just wanted to share a couple of thoughts after episode 5. Well, thank you, first of all, for the very, very kind words. You make me blush reading them out. But Reese says, if Bernard was explicitly not aware of the failsafe mechanism, why did the algorithm tell Camille, did I miss something here? So, yeah, do you, I think I have an answer for that, but I don't know if you want to.
No, I think that's a very good question, Reese. I think it may have something to do with from the algorithm's point of view, with the imminence of needing to put the D12 in the water. Because like in
D
order
plus,
to
yeah.
D plus, sorry, you know why I did that. Because in order to get to Camille to cooperate with that, she needs to be aware that there is a worse alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is it's also I think the algorithm knew that. I think for me the bigger question is, why did the door downstairs tell Lucas? Because then Lucas told Bernard. I guess maybe it was about to happen that second, and we definitely really need to see the other side of this story, and I don't know if we're going to get it this season or next.
Is the door not downstairs not just the algorithm?
I mean, it seems to be the same voice, the same system.
Yeah.
So why, in that case, why tell Lucas about it in the first place if Bernard never knew before that?
Yeah, and I mean, I think we are right in saying that Bernard, because Bernard didn't know.
No, he didn't. Not until
Yeah.
Lucas went upstairs and told him after this. And I think it's because it was imminent. But all I'll say is that we definitely need to see the other side of this story.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We need another perspective on this before we have answers, or at least some more explanations for sure. Yeah, these are good questions to raise. But I think why Camille is basically because if Bernard and Lucas know, Camille needs to know what she's dealing with.
Yeah.
She can't, like, the algorithm can't let, the voice can't let the others have more information than she has.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. And then Reese goes on to ask, what can the algorithm actually see or do? This has been the most confusing part of season 3 for me. Does it have access to all the cameras? If so, wouldn't it be able to infer so much more? Things like the tense conversations between the Sims couple, Juliet and Sims' lengthy talk in the middle of the stairwell, Sims suspiciously traveling to mechanical, the list goes on. It also seems like Camille reports things to it as if it doesn't already know what's happening in the silo. I'm worried this could just be a plot hole, or is the algorithm either hiding what it knows or not as powerful as it claims? I see the answer to all this is just like basically cameras.
Yeah, I think so. But I will go one step further. I've sort of hinted at this in a couple of the episode reviews. I'm strongly of the opinion that there are a small number of cameras that the algorithm has access to that the humans within the silo don't.
I could imagine that.
Yeah. So I think the in the control room where Emerson and Diego obvious are, I think they can see maybe 90% of the cameras, but there's 10% that only the algorithm sees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it also might be that the writers are holding back certain information for us, like about things that certain characters are up to that we're not seeing at the moment. They do like to tell the story that way, so I think there might be more explanations in that regard as well.
Because I'm going to throw a question out here to you, Elysia, but also to anybody that wants to answer it. Have the Simses moved into Bernard's old apartment? Because to me, it looks like they have.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
You think it's not the same apartment they were in before? I have to, yeah, maybe. I have to be honest. Is it set up the same way? The colors are different. I mean, I suppose all the silos apartments are copy paste, more or
Yeah.
less, and they were both in high up
But
apartments.
I think they're in a larger apartment now than they were in season 2.
It felt like their apartment was pretty big in season 1 when Juliet went in there, and they had like the kitchen, the room with the computer next to the kitchen. Although maybe it
Yeah.
was a slightly different layout, and then the bedroom around the corner.
Well, the only reason I say that is because if I were the algorithm or the person designing the algorithm, I would want them to have access to cameras, particularly in the head of IT's apartment, that the head of IT wasn't aware of.
Right, of course, yeah. Yeah, but we do also see things like Camille not telling Robert, "I'm having you followed," and him saying, like, "I know I'm being followed."
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I know. Look, I've been doing this for 20 years or however long. I can spot a tail.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's also just we're not getting all the information of what everyone knows. Like people are playing games, and we don't know what games Camille's playing with the algorithm, or she and Robert with each other. Yeah.
Also, I know it's done this way so the audience doesn't miss it, but the people tailing Robert Sims are not particularly subtle. It's like do 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 do.
And Reese says, my latest tinfoil hat theory. I'm starting to wonder if this really is some kind of experiment. Why build 50 silos so close but completely isolated? The reset ability and fail safe also feel very experiment like. And what does every good experiment need? An independent variable. So maybe each silo is run a little differently. Maybe they're testing different forms of government/control. No clue how the weird goo fits into that, though. So I guess, yeah, we talked about that, especially with the last question. But do you want to add to it?
Well, all I would add to that is, from what we know of Silo 17 and what Jimmy was telling us, what Jimmy/Solo was telling us last season, it seems like Silo 17 at least was run on very similar principles to Silo 18.
Mm-hmm.
Like their names for things were different, but what they actually did and how it worked seemed to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's what Juliet was saying in more recent episodes in this, that they seem pretty similar when she remembered 17. She said 6.
Yeah, but she was talking about the physical
Right.
layout of the silo.
Right. But yeah, we saw, for instance, Solo in his classroom, and it looks like what we saw with Anthony in his classroom. So
yeah, and like they have their own version of Founders Day that wasn't called Founders Day, but it was the same thing.
Freedom Day or something, or vice versa.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And then Reese's last question says, also, who is in Silo 1? It has to be someone, right? Or aliens. Cheers, guys. Latest Silo 1 theories?
I can't get into that without spoiling episode 7. So come back for episode 7 review.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Episode 7 does covers a lot of ground, I'll say. Anyway.
It does.
Motor Riders D says, what are they called? Channels? I laughed at this line because Martha knows frequencies but not channels, and I find it funny because I've always considered them to go hand in hand as an RF professional. But of course, in the silo, that doesn't mean they would know the concept of a channel versus a frequency range. Nerd face emoji. I'm very excited to see what they can do with the radios. Martha's shop by the end of this episode had so many people that now know everything. This is bad for the algorithm, and I hope they find the poison tube and cap it ASAP. So thoughts about the radios and Martha's growing?
Well, I wouldn't want to match wits with an RF professional. So I'm going to leave that well enough alone. But yeah, at this point, it would almost be easier to name the characters that weren't in on the conspiracy as opposed to the ones that are. Like,
I don't care. I love it when people are just talking to each other.
But like, they better cap that pipe pretty quick.
Although I did laugh when Billings immediately, he's like, Carla's like, don't tell anyone about the light bulbs. And he's like, no way. We don't want to start a panic. Hank, hey, old buddy, haven't seen you in episodes. Let me tell you about the light bulbs. But hey, I mean, let's get to team up Paige and get this party started.
Well, what you're always saying about clear communication, Elysia. That's a classic example of clear communication.
Barb's 2795 also said, I am living for terrible people having a good think about all the awful stuff they've done. Totally agree with the comment about Sims trying his hardest to save Camille's humanity as best as he can. Yeah, I think there was a lot of discussion about whether Sims was being empathetic enough to Camille at this point. And I think that the problem with them as a couple is they're like, we tell each other everything couple, and we keep seeing over and over that that's just not true at all. They're both keeping rampant secrets from each other. For instance, that book that he wrote about the Pez, he kept that from Camille because he thought he was protecting her. And so like they are constantly keeping things from each other, but for well-meaning reasons, but we see that driving a wedge between them. But I don't think it's a lack of empathy or loving each other. I think it's that they need to just be more direct with each other, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. But the thing is, at this point, being direct with each other might get one or both of them killed, so that's easier said than done.
Yeah, that's fair. We had a lot of fun discussion and theorizing about light bulb theft. So, first of all, just to point, because there was discussion about this point, we know, like there's discussion, what are the light bulbs used for? We know they're at least used for two things that are essential to the silo. One is, of course, growing the food. And the other is that these are the daylight simulation light bulbs in the central shaft. So that's what I think Carla meant about, we'll be in the dark.
Yeah, because if they were just light bulbs, ordinary light bulb, they would surely be able to produce them in the silo. I don't know why they would be in critical supply. I think what makes them critical supply is the mechanism that has them turn on and off in such a way as to simulate sunlight. Or that was at least what my headcanon said. Because that would get that you would need microchips in order to be able to do that. And we know they can't produce.
I still don't know if they can produce tungsten for the filaments.
That's true.
I'm not sure. I mean, we could use some engineer input on this. Like, I'm trying to look at. It seems complicated. I don't know if it includes like microscopic parts. Because we know, for example, they're not allowed to do ultrasounds. They're not allowed to have elevators.
Because they didn't. I might be misremembering this, but didn't Harwood in one episode say that what they were mining in the mines was iron ore?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we do know what the mines are.
So they do have iron.
Mining.
We know that. Yeah. So they shouldn't run out of, I don't know. Well, for example, they shouldn't be running out of the, what are they making the rebar out of?
Yeah. And do they actually have like the blast furnace and capability and like the other additives to make iron into steel as well?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know certainly. Yeah, what are they doing in tool fabrication with Mark Chambers? They're taking parts and making things out of them, sure, but where are they getting the parts?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, we had a lot of fun theories about the light bulb theft. So Rita Reborn says, tinfoil hat, Carla is behind the theft. She's hoarding for the people she cares about. Prediction. There's an empty silo with presumably at least 50 years of light bulbs right next door. What do you think about these?
I think the light bulbs right next door, yeah, I think that's how this problem is eventually going to be solved. Although I I think it might be another silo that's actually stealing Silo 18's light bulbs.
Okay.
Because I don't go. I can see. I can see why Carla might want to steal things and give them to the people she cares about. But the thing is, you can't separate. You can't only give the light bulbs to the people you care about. Like they either serve the whole silo or they don't.
Right, right. You don't want to live with just Carla and Martha. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think also that now that we've seen Carla and Martha, I think we can rule that out. Or I don't know. I would personally, but I guess it's just more like I put those two in my blunt rotation. So they're chill ladies.
Yeah, but yeah, I can very well see a kind of Great Escape tunnel scenario being the way they find more light bulbs. Or, like I say, that another silo has already run out of light bulbs and is now stealing Silo 18's light bulbs.
Okay. Marcus S says, I'm not convinced it's the miners who killed Orla. Lots of hints point that way, but it smells like misdirection to make us think it was them. Recall that she was only moved to the mine after being killed. Light bulbs and rebar? Illicit cannabis farm somewhere?
Well, if we are going to do a blunt rotation, they've got to get weed from somewhere. So,
I mean, I'll be like, because of course there is the question, like, what are you doing with 48 years worth of light bulbs? That's a lot of light bulbs.
Yeah, but by the way, slight tangent, but the illicit cannabis farm thing. So the football club I support, Notts County, they obviously, the winters in the UK can get pretty dark and pretty cold, and you've got to keep a grass pitch alive through that. And there was a time when we didn't have a lot of money as a football club. So one of the ways they did that was going to buy the rigs that you made that worked in cannabis farms off the local police at police auctions.
Oh, well, that'll do it. Paul K says, maybe one of the other silos has a gothic metal club going on. I've been to a few cave-like hangouts.
Again, there's if you want to do that, when I was a student at Nottingham, the caves under Nottingham Castle, they would do that 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah.
And Soph YB said this was actually after episode 3, said it's either Walker and Carla or Jules' escaped rabbit's army of descendants. So now, Luke, I ask you, who is stealing 48 years worth of grow bulbs? For what purpose? Wrong answers only.
Well, I mean, if it's the army of rabbits, like, you've got a bigger problem, because presumably you've got a massive army of mutant rabbits with opposable thumbs. So, the light bulbs are the least of your problems.
I mean, yeah, I hope that, like, maybe they've built an underground city somewhere and they're actually creating a city away from the silos.
So there might even be a silo underneath the silos.
Yes.
Like an Uber silo.
And they've met the creatures from the Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah, there's just some Morlocks down there chilling with some weed.
From Time Machine. Yeah. Yeah. They're partying with the Morlocks. This is actually H.G. Wells crossover fiction. I'm sorry to spoil it for all of you. All right. So Soph YB says, picking up on Paul K's discussion of mirrored plot lines, Soph says, one aspect of mirroring / contrast that I liked in the books, but which we haven't seen yet, minor character point, not plot spoiler, is that the Daniel character is claustrophobic in the book, or at least has anxiety about it and lives out in the open, whereas Walker lives in a silo and suffers from agoraphobia, or used to. She's just chilling in a massive digger void now, apparently. Yeah. So this Walker doesn't have agoraphobia. Yeah, we've already discussed that part. But the Daniel character is claustrophobic. I forgot about that.
Well, if he was claustrophobic in the show, he did a very good job of hiding it when he was in the car that was being driven somewhere.
Oh, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. He's been very calm overall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Savoy Bay also says, I need Rosemary from Widow's Bay to doing the Pez ancestry. Do you you haven't seen
No, I
Widow's Bay?
haven't watched Widow's Bay.
Okay, yeah. So I recommend Widow's Bay. I think that you like it. It has horror elements, but not intense at all. Like the second episode has maybe the scariest thing, but it is very genuinely funny too. And there's at one point one character is doing the ancestry of another character, and people are just obsessed with that scene. It's from the penultimate episode of the season. But anyway, Soph also says, I wonder how long it's going to take before Bernard realizes he could have just cooled his jets a bit and Mary motherfucking Meadows would be there contributing to Juliet. This is your life club.
Also, so great use of pillock. That is a swear word that's gone out of fashion, but great use of the word pillock.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to see Bernard grappling a bit more with the Mary motherfucking Meadows of it all. Yeah, I agree. She says, I hope the cuddly new Bernard is being genuine and he's not still the true head of IT about to double cross everyone. I don't see why that would be the case, though. It makes more narrative sense for the factions to unite against a bigger baddie.
I think for the moment you are right, Soph. Whether he might become head B, whether he might become the one true head of IT again at some point, I think is more open to discussion. But I think for the moment, you're right to say that they've got bigger problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She says there's still something fishy going on with either the pulleys or something else Orla Kent saw. She specifically went down to look at the gap, saying, I have an idea about how she's moving them, or something like that. And then she looks over the railings and has an expression of discovery. But it can't just be the pulleys, because she went down to see them. She knew they were there. And Chekhov's Aunt Doreen hasn't shown up yet either. If I were Billings, my next stop would be Diego Exposition and Aunt Doreen. Yeah, so it's true. We don't know what she saw at the railing yet. Presumably that has something to do with why she was taken out. Something about, I think she thought Glenda was stealing them. I don't think Glenda was stealing them, but whoever was, she figured out something about how how the light bulbs, whatever was being stolen, was rebar, was being moved.
Yeah.
Something with the central shaft at the gap. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. But the only thing about that is these thefts were taking place before the gap in the stairs was created by the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is it might have been a system of pulleys that was being used to move them, but it wasn't that system of pulleys specifically because the thefts were already happening.
Okay, listening back as I edit, I realized that's not quite true because the supplies have been stolen over the past 3 months. So since Juliet's return, so after the gap in the stairs appeared. Okay, let's go back to it. Yeah, I'm just trying to, okay, I think so far our best lead on the thief is maybe whoever was working with Knox's allegedly deceased father, who seems to have in the past stolen from Critical Supply with the diamond-coated whatever drill bits. If he's supposed to have been an engineer, maybe he engineered something to do this. But then it still doesn't answer the question, how are they getting, I guess I have fewer questions about that part and more questions about how are they getting it out of Critical Supply in the first place? Well, no, and what would that have to do with the central shaft?
The real question is, why are you stealing the light bulbs?
Yeah.
Because you have to live in this silo too. If the
Mhm.
if the silo runs out of food and power, if the silo goes dark, they're just not things you can sell.
Right.
Like profit, I don't understand where the profit is in stealing them.
No. No. And yeah. No, I definitely have questions about it.
Yeah.
So Soph also says about Juliet's Messiah status, yes to Dune comparison. And she quotes, "No more terrible disaster could befall your people than for them to fall into the hands of a hero," capital H. Worm emoji, desert emoji. And Cincinnati Joe, oh yeah, just said that you issued a quote along the same lines. He says, "Is Life of Brian not Holy Grail?" Yes.
I know.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
read
Fair.
that. I read that in
Yeah.
Discord, Cincinnati Joe, and I am very sorry. My Brit privileges have been revoked for at least 24 hours based on
I mean, I didn't clock it either, and I definitely am well familiar with both movies. I mean, I thought Life of Brian anyway. That's just how the brain works. See, our
that.
brains are faulty. Victor, cure us. No, don't. No, don't.
No, please don't.
um, and Soph says finally, also waiting for Jules to bump into the couple who got to have their baby because Juliet got sent out to clean. The couple who talked to Papa Nichols. And I just remember, didn't they say that they were going to name their baby Juliet?
Yes, they did. If it was a girl, yeah.
Yeah, if it was, and I just assumed it would become a girl because of the law of writing.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to hear from them at some point if there's like, yeah, a baby Juliet out there.
Yeah.
That would maybe help pick her up if things get dark. Yeah. Speaking of dark, Jean, a comment on the Discord, and I also spoke to him privately about this. He is not here for a Sims and Bernard redemption arc. He says, okay, WTF. So I'm just supposed to yay this Sims and motherfucking Bernard situation? What kind of mind fuckery is Silo on right now? WTF. Nah, I was sent the files, meaning the short story. I've read the files and I'm very upset. They've got me tight. I feel like the Sims files are trying to reevaluate Sims, and I don't want to do that at all. I don't trust him. I can't stand him. The mofo has done some terrible things, and I got to read and see that maybe, just maybe, he has a conscience and might be remorseful for the things he's done. I refuse to be swayed. LOL.
Okay, John, I am never going to get on the wrong side of you, mate, because you are just not a forgiving person. I can see this.
I mean, he has killed people.
He has. He has.
He didn't kill George, but he's killed other people. We saw him kill what's his face, the guy who is like his shadow for 10 seconds.
Oh yeah. Where he does the whole thing of swearing him in and then pushes him over the side of the stairs. Yeah.
The guy said he would do anything for the silo. And we saw him like waving a gun at Lucas's mom and stuff. Yeah. So he's not like just saying because he can become better and it doesn't undo all the bad that he's done. That's what I would say. So I'm more with Aaron. Aaron says, as a longtime Rob defender, I feel vindicated by the great Sims lock-in of episode 5, even if I only defended him privately and in the comfort of my own mind.
Well done.
Yeah. But yeah, Jean knows that I am always the maybe they can change person. And I just keep going back to, sorry, spoiler for this DC show Penguin, where that got thrown back in my face. So I'm not always right to hope for better, but this is a world I think where people can.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with seeing the best in people, even if they're fictional.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easier when they're fictional, obviously.
Quite, yeah.
So, yeah, there's lots of love with this episode. Eon said, best episode of the season so far. Things are moving now. Jampactian said, I think this was easily the best episode of the season by far. They really brought together the Silo 18 crew, gave Sims a phenomenal episode, and even did a better than average peek at the current era, a section I haven't really been happy with, thanks to both wildly uninformed presentation of a sitting congressman, and because that character, while consistent, is infuriating to watch, and I didn't like him in the books either. Doesn't help. Sorry, not sorry. Very excited for the show, though. So different but interesting in and of itself, much like Foundation seems to be. So yeah, I mean that's fair. Like I have a sympathy for Donald in the books and Daniel in the show, which is obviously partially book transfer, but I think they've kept in terms of they've wildly changed some of the characters' personalities. Usually they change a name then in this at the same time, but that is one character who's I would say is very like his book counterpart to me. And they haven't dived into the him as a congressman aspect of it. There was more of that aspect in the books, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and I think changing the character's name from Donald to Daniel, I think the reason for that was fairly obvious. You know, given the real world, basically. I don't think you want a politician character named Donald. I think that could be somewhat distracting from the story.
Yeah. And I know a lot of book readers, like there are certain plot lines some of us are attached to. Yeah, if they don't play out, that can be disappointing. But I think overall, I've seen most readers being excited about changes and new things as long as it's internally consistent. And I'll say that there are certain plot lines that I think might be looping back around after we had written them off as impossible now.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, we will dive into the most recent episode. Be right back. Okay, so about episode 6, The Drive. So this is, these are all caught up to everything that has been released thus far. So first we have from Siobhan Logan on Blue Sky, a new silo pod from Elysia and Luke. Strap those seatbelts in and check the contents of your shoulder bag. Don't forget to wave at the police escort. Yes, the key to lying to the voice is to play out your truth. I think Camille susses this as much as Juliet does, but love her snap back till the voice grows some arms and legs. I'm the one holding the door. There's something there about limits of the AI's reach. Yeah, it's a good point. It was a line that was funny and both illustrated the limits of an AI of a disembodied voice reach. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of is it human or machine. AI is decentralized. The silo system wouldn't need silo 1 if there wasn't some human agency involved along with the algorithm. Thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree with that. And I won't spoil it, but I think episode 7 kind of drives home that point as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she says, great pod. I will spend the week mulling over 48 years worth of light bulbs and all that unauthorized digging. Are the flame keepers burrowing their own silo space and farm since Juliet's return quashed any hope of outside? A hippie commune down deep or a miners' gang gone rogue? I mean...
Yeah, the miners' gang gone rogue. That's the only thing that, assuming for a second that the thieves are inside Silo 18. And I happen to think they're probably not, but if they are, the miners stealing the light bulbs is the only thing that makes sense.
So who do you think? Yeah.
Because maybe they are stealing them in order to hold the rest of the silo hostage for better conditions.
Okay, that would be a motive. Who do you think killed Orla then? And why the rebar? Or I guess it can be true of any and all supplies.
I think it might. Again, dang. I can't really get into what I'm thinking without.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. And then she ends with yay for Shirley striking a blow for women's reproductive rights in Silo. No way was that Bebe authorized. Either Dr. Nicholson assisted before his sad demise or Cheryl did the deed. Ouch. My money's on Papa Nichols redeeming himself. R.I.P. Daddy. Now to win a world for Noxie Baby.
Yeah. That hadn't occurred to me, but yeah, I think it's probably Dr. Papa Nichols because I mean, you could do it yourself. Allison did it herself, but it's difficult and painful.
He was down there for a while, so that would be sweet if it was Papa Nichols.
It would.
And then Juliet found out afterward. Oh, that would be sweet. And like, your father helped this baby happen. Oh, as one of the last things he did.
Yeah.
Reader Reborn says, so many thoughts. This episode felt wonky logistically. People going up and down the silo willy-nilly. Double plots on Knox that felt like they belonged in different episodes. The car stuff was a tension killer, though I did like it in the moment. I mean, I think if you liked it in the moment, it's okay for there to be a downbeat for two people to bond. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. And I think you do find out a lot about Daniel and Helen and who they are and where they're coming from in episode 6.
Yeah.
And also the frankly outrageous flirting.
Yes. I mean, and I'm here for some outrageous flirting. I think, I liked that aspect of it, that it was just a quiet scene between the two of them. And of course, there's like stuff to be done in that part of the storyline. And I promise episode 7 will deliver more in that regard, I think. I hope people find that to be. But this is, at the end of the day, there are action bits. And then this is a show with a lot of people talking, and I like that aspect.
Yeah.
I like the people joking and bonding and sharing information, and yeah. I like a talky thing. That's true, and this is that. There is a lot of discussion this week about the jetpacking around the silo, but I talked about it with Abby, and I think this was part of the recording for the spoiler cast, but I feel like in episode 6, Juliet's the only one I really remember running up and down the stairs, and that's sort of similar to the book where she does the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really mind the jetpacking too much. I like the jetpacking never really, because like you often got this criticism of Game of Thrones, where in the early seasons it would take people ages to get from point A to point B because they were either walking or riding a horse. And then as the plot sort of demanded, we sort of cut out big chunks of time so people got from point A to point B very quickly.
I mean, I'll say, like, in the books on which A Song of Ice and Fire is based, it is like, if you want to fly across Westeros, you probably, even by Dragonback, you do probably stop a night or two along the way. Because it is a big fly. But at the end of the day, if you're watching a TV show, do you want to watch all that time walking?
Yeah. So I don't really mind the jetpacking, so long as it's kind of acknowledged that the characters are moving quicker than they routinely would.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And it is like, there is stuff in the books about Juliet in particular being one, like when she was in Silo 17 and she just like run back and forth to do stuff on the steps, and Solo's like, oh, good God, I'm living, you know?
Yeah.
She's just is like one of the healthiest people, or if not the healthiest person in the entire silo, just very fit person.
Yeah. And, you know, clearly so is Rebecca Ferguson as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well cast. And yeah, I don't know. So the Knox plots, like, that would be about his dad and about the baby. And they are additions from the book, I'll say, but I'm intrigued to see how they play out. Reader Reborn continues, loved seeing Juliet back mostly, and the Knox and Shirley stuff was great. Billings' investigation finally showing results, and Bernard and Walker. So yeah, a lot of great character interactions this episode. But says it feels out of character that Shirley would choose to get pregnant right now. What do you think about that?
I'm not sure she did choose to get pregnant right now. It's just, you know, Shirley and Knox doing the do.
But she either took it out herself or had the device taken out.
But I sort of read that as, we might want to have children at some point and we're not likely to win the lottery given everything that's happened. So let's just let nature take its course. I don't think it necessarily has to be a very conscious decision. let's get pregnant. I think it's more you, the pact, the powers that be are not going to tell me what to do and when.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. And he says also, I think this episode confirmed the voice is not AI.
I don't think it confirmed that the voice was not AI. I think it
Questioned.
tilted. Yeah, it questioned whether the voice was AI. But I do like the what. You know the way it goes. Where Camille basically just wakes it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you want?
Like, hello? I thought you were here at my beck and call.
Yeah, what do you want?
Yeah, I think that's what people point to most is like an AI doesn't sound annoyed that you're asking for attention again.
Although I do think there are times when my ALEXA does sound annoyed with me. So I'm not sure that that's true.
Okay, but so we got to talk about Rita Reborn brings up this point, and Abby brings in a point, and there's a related Reddit post I want to bring up. It's all about the vitamin D plus, and Rita Reborn says, "I didn't expect the D plus to actually get released. Do we think she's lying?" And the Reddit post from it's on Silo TV series subreddit again. It's from Silo 1817, and they said vitamin D plus barrels in Silo season 3. In season 3, episode 2, the vitamin D plus barrels were clearly marked. In season 3, episode 6, they wwere not. And I double checked, and this is true. You see D plus in episode 2, you don't see it in episode 6. And says Camille referred to the barrels as vitamin D. Unless my eyesight is failing me, there is nothing written on the barrels the workers are hauling up in episode 6. Did Sims switch them, and why didn't Camille notice, or did she? And Abby responds to this, and here I was just thinking Camille, the guy Camille was instructing, didn't understand the instruction. He was starting to ask what she means, and she had a "don't question me" attitude, so he went with it, but will not do anything to the filters. But if the barrels are switched, then good job, Mr. Sims. So here's the question that's being raised by these three people. Is Camille telling the truth about releasing the vitamin D plus? Were those barrels actually the vitamin D? Like maybe they got turned and the label was not shown, or maybe they were swapped out. And if they were swapped out, what was it? Robert? Was it Camille? Was it some combination of the two playing some game behind the scenes? And then finally, did Asa understand the instructions about turning off the filter? Because Abby was saying that he was interrupted, like as if he didn't understand what turning off the osmosis was. So I guess the question is, was she performing for the algorithm, or was that a real exchange, and what actually went down there?
I think it's very notable that this happened in the same episode where you get the "unless it's grown arms and legs" line. Because, yeah, I wondered about that. It's not like the algorithm can actually put the vitamin D12 in the water itself. It's reliant on a human agent to do that. So, but if the barrels were switched out, or if the filtration system wasn't turned off, the algorithm is going to realize what happened relatively quickly, I would think. Because it's going to notice through the cameras that people aren't forgetting things.
Mm-hmm.
So if that happens, it will just trigger the safeguard. And you can't get 10,000. You can't get 10,000 people. Oh, I don't think you can get 10,000 people to convincingly play along.
Right. That
So
they're forgetting things. Yeah. And how do you communicate that without the algorithm finding out?
Yeah. So regardless of whether Camille or Robert switched the barrels, that's kind of not the important thing. The important thing is they've only bought, even if they did do that, they've only bought themselves a very short window. And
Right.
I think this could be. There is a scenario I could see where the whole tension between Robert and Camille throughout the series has been played out as kabuki theatre for the benefit of the algorithm,
Hmm.
and that actually they've been working together the whole time. I'm not saying that's what I think has happened, but I can see, like, over the next 4 episodes, or particularly like episodes 9 and 10, that being revealed. And I would be sort of, but I wouldn't be like Leo pointing me and shocked. But yeah, I think the important issue is, even if that's true, and I think it might be, I think the it doesn't have arms and legs line was possibly Camille winking at the audience.
Mm-hmm.
But like, even if that's true, they've only bought themselves a very short window of opportunity to do something.
Yeah. I just think about like the games the story played last season, for example, with the hand signals, where early on they did say, and we clocked it and talked about it on the podcast, that they use hand signals in the Down Deep to do things. But then we didn't notice that's what they were doing to communicate
Yeah.
that when they knew Bernard was watching by camera. So the question is, are Camille and or her husband doing similar? I'll say I think the more interesting question is that there is strain on their marriage through all of this subterfuge and this fact that maybe they are not as open with each other as they pretended to themselves even. So I wouldn't, if I think if they were just working together the whole time, it would be like, oh, then we lost that interesting exploration of that. What was that all?
Yeah.
So for that, I'm disinclined to think that part, that they're secretly working together. But I don't think necessarily everything we see should be taken at face value, because this is not that kind of show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I say, I think that the key point is, even if they have monkeyed around with the vitamin D plus, they're only buying themselves a matter of days, probably
Mm-hmm.
weeks at the outside, before the algorithm realizes what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Reader Reborn continues, character relationships are my favorite part of this show and any show. On that micro scene level, the episode works really well. The stuff with Knox and Shirley, Walker and Bernard, the Simses, Billings investigation, even the stuff in the car when looking at each individual scene worked great. So it was more, Reader Reborn was more about the way they were stitched together than the scenes themselves. Not enjoying this as much as the last one. And then Reader Reborn threw out a question that a few people, including myself, answered. I'm going to ask for your answer, so start thinking. The question for the chat is, what would everyone's relic be? And I'm asking listeners at home, please send in, what would your relic be? And so Barb's 2795 says, I have a Captain Haddock keyring that I joke looks like my partner. Captain Haddock will keep me safe with his angry little face. Phenomena says, my new Glarus brewing bottle opener keychain. So lots of keychain love. And Abby also said, my relic would be my key ring. I have it for 40 years now and counting. Wow. Paul K says, my relic would be a toy. I do have a few, including a Corgi, Starsky and Hutch car, or maybe Lady Penelope's pink Rolls Royce. And I said, I have a particular pen I really like. It fits well in my hand, has a pleasing shape, and writes well. It was actually a free promotional gift, but I still buy cartridges to keep using it many years later. So that was
nice.
mine. What's yours, Luke?
I have an invitation from the wedding of some friends of mine that I've kept for years because I just like the design of the invitation.
Okay. And this is how we get our memories triggered.
Yeah.
I'll remember sitting at this desk many, many, many hours sitting at this desk.
So many hours.
Jans said, is it me or Knox was giving the I'll retire in 2 weeks vibes this episode? Like, no.
Don't you dare. So I know, because don't even Don't even think about it. Don't
Don't put
fucking
that
dare.
bad juju in there. Don't put that bad energy out there.
Yeah, just don't, man. Just don't.
Zatuichi says plot moved along very well, but it felt like the relationship episode. Lots of building and showing emotional connections. And yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like this is I was saying to Abby in the spoiler cast, it's like when you're on the roller coaster going up the hill, and this is the slow part where it's like tick 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 up to the top. And I think episode 7 on is where you go wee all the way down. Cincinnati Joe says on the vitamin D plus, the way Sims described it was low and slow. So I don't think people will wake up the next day/week and have lost everything. Seems like they will slowly start forgetting bits of the past. Over months, ? This may make them not remember why they might rebel, etc., and make them more pliable while still being functional along the way. At least that's my guess. They haven't really detailed how vitamin D plus works, so I try not to get too hung up on it. As Sims said, it's different from the high dose, forget most things immediately version that they hit Juliet with, as well as Daniel's sister in the past. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would expect it to start having some like minor effects relatively quickly. And I do sort of take issue with the make them more pliable bit because admittedly they're on much higher doses of the drug, but we've seen Charlotte and we've seen Juliet on this drug, and it hasn't made them more pliable per se, I don't think. So I don't think it affects behavior. Well, maybe actually Juliet was a bit more pliable in the first couple of episodes, but well, no, not really. Sorry, that was not a very coherently put together thought. Yeah, no, I don't think the drug makes people particularly pliable.
Well, I think just like the brain fuzz in general just kind of makes you more, you're not really grasping onto anything.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going through the motions more for a while, I think, until it's gets out of your system and you start to build new things. Yeah, because it also, we saw with Gloria, assuming it's the same thing, we still need to hear about that, but it almost seemed to induce hallucinations in her or allowed her to indulge in her inner fancies more, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's the implanted memories thing, where they implant memories of her on the beach.
Yeah.
With her family she never had.
Yeah, and maybe because this is the other thing. I'm not sure how it works because we've seen Charlotte and Juliet recover memories or recover a facsimile of memory, but that's been done on a very one-to-one basis with people that they know and know well. So, like, how do you do Victor's very intensive therapy sort of thing on 10,000 people at the same time?
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, at that point, you're not trying to get them to remember individual memories at that point. You just want them to remember, like, oh, this is silo life. This is how silo life has always been. This is your mayor. We celebrate Freedom Day.
Yeah.
So these are collective memories, and then they can build their own personal memories again and fill it in however they like from the past, as long as they don't remember. The key thing is not remembering the things they don't want them to remember, basically.
Yeah, I guess.
Cincinnati Joe says, not sure I bought all of Knox's story about his family. The silos operation isn't great, but it doesn't seem like any kids would be going hungry because their one parent was bad. Didn't they all go to a communal cafeteria? Even if they are lacking niceties, seems like they'd always be able to eat from what we know about how things work. What do you think?
But I don't think there's anything in Knox's story that contradicts that.
Yeah. I mean, I think in this, there's been, this whole bit has sparked some conversation about, like, how does the food system work? Because we know there are communal cafeterias and we know that people eat private things. presumably, do they pay? Do they get a certain amount of food free and then they pay beyond that with their chits or something? I don't know exactly how it works. How do you
Well,
gather it happens?
I mean, we haven't had any explanation of this, but I assume that food in the silo is rationed. So
Yeah, it'd have to be, right?
yeah, it would have to be. So I assume you've got one of two choices. You can either pay in your ration coupon at the communal canteen and eat that way, or you can take it to the market and pay it in that way and cook your goods, privately.
Yeah.
But it just depends where you want to cash in the chit. So let me give you a bit of a historical example. So World War I, Central Powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary, are under very strict blockade from the Allies, Great Britain, France, Russia. And so they experiment with various ways of making the available food stretch as far as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things the German and Austrian governments hit on was this idea of communal eating. So you would set up these big cafeterias in like the city hall or some large building, and people would go there and they would hand in their ration cards.
Mm.
And the idea was, if you wanted to eat at one of these communal kitchens, you would hand in your ration card for the day you wanted to eat a few days ahead of time.
Okay.
So you wouldn't hand it in on the day. So say you wanted to go there on the Wednesday, you would almost like booking a restaurant, hand in the ration card the week before. And the idea was that would minimize waste because you could order in the exact amount of food and fuel that you would need on any particular day.
Mm-hmm.
And it would also ensure that everybody that ate there got roughly the same portions and got a meal that was healthy by the standards of like nutrition science in 1917. So they were basically calorie counting because that's all they could do,
Right.
basically.
Right.
So this kind of communal eating is more efficient in terms of you get the exact amount of food for the exact amount of people you're expecting
Mm-hmm.
at any given time.
I do have the feeling that in the silo it's more spontaneous.
Yeah.
But I think also like I think that poverty in the silo is a relative term where there is probably a lower base because when he talked about it, he doesn't seem like he's been malnourished. Obviously, he grew into a big strapping lad. We call him Foxy Nuxy for a reason. But he was talking about like not being able to buy the extras,
Yeah, the
like the
lanterns.
lantern. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that it is a case where obviously he would have no idea what this concept of like why would people go hungry? Why would anyone allow that to happen?
Yeah, so I think this is relative poverty, not absolute poverty.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think it's necessarily about his food as per se.
Yeah.
Or he did say about going hungry, didn't he?
I'd have to go back and rewatch the episode.
Wait, hold on. I can get the transcript real quick.
Interestingly, that experiment in Germany didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is because middle class people wouldn't use them.
Oh, really?
It was too similar to the pre-war system of poor relief.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like middle class office workers wouldn't use them.
Yeah, I mean, but that is the thing. That is something that's explored more in the books than we've seen in the show about just how the middle class, tries to position themselves in certain ways that don't necessarily benefit them and benefit rather the class above them because they would rather be seen as positioned with that class. And in some ways makes them more conservative over certain things. That was a theme in the books that we haven't had talked about in the show. But okay, so I looked up Knox's quote, and he says he was never around. I mean, maybe you'll remember growing up, it was just me and my mom, and it was hard. We struggled. Never enough food. I never had clothes that fit. I remember when I was a little kid, I wanted one of those Freedom Day lanterns. I wanted one so bad, couldn't afford it, but we were okay. Because mom, she worked her ass off. Somehow she still made time for me. I don't know when she slept. So yeah, he does say never enough food, although it's more about like clothes not fitting and all this stuff. I think what we should assume is that there's a basic whatever rations, and obviously they get that, but it's not, most people have more than that. Like Juliet talks about having pizza at home,
Yeah.
frozen pizza sort of situation. I don't think they were a household that had pizza in their freezer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd say, yeah. So, I mean, like you said, I think it would be, given what Knox, is like as an adult, I think it's pretty unlikely he suffered like severe malnutrition as a child, because that does feed through into health effects pretty much lifelong. But yeah, I think I think we are talking about relative rather than absolute poverty. And also, I think this might just be one of the issues where it's a pretty minor thing and the writers haven't quite thought it all the way through.
Cincinnati Joe also says, talking to my wife, and she liked this episode a lot. She liked all the character interactions, including the couple in the car, though she admitted that arc went on too long. Like, no, more Daniel and Helen. Now make them kiss.
Kiss.
What's our couple's name for them?
Dylan?
Yeah, I guess so. All right, let's take one final quick break here. When we get back, we'll check in on the rest of the feedback from episode 6. Becky J says, the people in the mines are clearly taking secret tunnels up and down somewhere, so I'm hoping we see that. I'm kind of bored with the stealing from supply storyline, so I'd like to wrap that up. Knox's father, I don't really care, but I think the dude was lying that he died 2 years ago. Camille's comments to Robert were ominous, kind of hoping he gets sent out to clean or similar. Will Lucas and Patrick even end up going outside? I don't know. I'm not convinced, but if they do, I do actually really like the dynamic between Lucas and Patrick, so I think these two together would be pretty entertaining, but I cannot even consider Lucas dying. Smiley emoji. I'm assuming that Daniel and Helen go with Thurman to see Per Stenson, hopefully, and then they find out about the silo plans. Thoughts on any of this?
No comment on any of that.
I did ask for predictions about the next episode, so I'm very excited to see how Becky responds to the next episode. Al Torino says on Discord, the Paul Billings disrespect this episode, shaking my head. He's literally the sheriff, but seems to have no authority.
Well, he's just wearing Halston's hand-me-downs.
I mean, Billings is your favorite character. Did you feel?
Yeah, no, I'm getting pretty sick of people disrespecting Billings. but also, I think you see this in episode 6. Billings is snapping back. He is seriously.
He's salty.
His fucks are seriously depleted at this point, and I do kind of worry slightly that he's gonna snap back really hard at like Mark Chambers or somebody else at some point and do something he regrets.
Go Darth.
Yeah,
Billings.
Go a bit Darth Billings, because he does. Like, we've had this all the way since season 1. Paul Billings is somebody that keeps his emotions very tightly bottled up.
But we've had hints that they are simmering at all times, like when he punched the other teenager who wanted to talk to him about the syndrome.
Yeah, so yeah, I do just worry he's going to do something he'll regret later on.
Yeah. Barb's 2795 says, I really enjoy the character moments. I'd be so up for 20 episode seasons like in Star Trek of characters doing their hobbies. I'll say, like, Mayor Johns has a whole thing about knitting in the book. There's no time for that in a TV show. Everybody needs to grab a Kit Kat wrapper relic like Bernie to survive the vitamin D plus. So yeah, we were calling it tape. I inserted a little thing that people mentioned. It's more like a candy wrapper or something, which I guess makes more sense in relic terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barb says, I can't help but find the swings they go up and down the gap with really funny. Yeah, a lot of people said they laughed when they saw Camille just like riding down. I want to ride just.
Yeah, no, I don't find them funny. I just want to have a go on them.
Yeah. Had whiplash after the episode where Ted Lasso started playing halfway through an episode we'd watched, and Walker came strutting into the kitchen saying, "Hello, sausage," because Harriet Walter is on Ted Lasso also.
Well, Harriet Walter is in just about everything at the moment.
So it's going to turn up. Poor Paul, inch by inch, he's being turned into a rebel. Do you think? You think he's going to go full rebel?
I don't think he's being turned into a rebel. I think he's there.
But what about, like, is he on the? Is he on the same side of as his wife?
No, but that doesn't mean he's not a rebel. We've got various rebel factions at the moment.
That's true. Barb says, the reason why I enjoy the show is the characters, even relatively minor ones. The mystery and themes are a bonus. Sometimes I'm not even fussed about what happened to the world.
I know what you mean, Bob, but I need to find out what happened to the world.
Someone posted on Blue Sky, and I reposted it recently. The thing that Meadows said to Bernard, like, what did they do to this world, Bernard? Paul K says, for a second, I thought Ed Harwood was going to be revealed as Knox's daddy. And I'll say, the thought crossed my mind, but I was like, no, that wouldn't make sense. We would. They were in a meeting together, but there was a moment where he goes there like, hey, Pops.
No, I am your father.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
It would tie things together, but no. Unless, okay, here we go. Here's some tinfoil hat.
Oh, God, this is going to be serious tinfoil.
What if Knox was somehow given targeted forget drug to forget what his father looks like so that Ed Harwood could hide from him? It's very tinfoil. I don't think so, but
I mean,
who would give it?
Who would do that?
They would need a medical person on their side. Someone who knows about the drug and how to use it. And I don't see Sims getting involved in that.
Nurse Amy?
Yeah, but why?
I don't know why, but I like it. I don't know why. I like it.
All right. We'll see what turns out. But then it's like, then he forgets his sister Orla too? Or not Orla, sorry, Glenda? No, I think it's too tinfoil, but putting it out there for funsies.
I don't know. Look, there's no denying it is extremely tinfoil, but I like it. I'm here for that.
Paul K also says, who's tampering with the camera feeds? Or Glenda has an identical twin. Billings growing in stature as a heroic figure. What do we think about because I'll say, actually, Abby brought up this identical twin idea too, that would be why they were on two cameras. And we talked about it on the spoiler cast. And I said, I mean, this is another very tinfoil hat theory, but I could see it. You brought it up with Orla, and I thought it was less likely there because we've met the whole family and stuff. But in the mines, they can hide people out. And what you brought up the question last time, like what happens if you have an unauthorized child? And it just makes me think about like the one child in China policy. If people have twins, right?
Yeah, were they hidden? Yeah.
I mean,
well, I don't really see what else it could be, to be honest, because like,
I mean, the thing is, like, we know that in the past, 352 years in the past, it would have been no problem to deep fake Orla into another video.
Yeah.
But within the silo, that would be completely impossible. So if it happened...
you would need to get one of the judicial goons. You would need to get Diego Obvious or one of the other people in that room. They're the only ones who might be able to do it.
But I think the only thing that they would be capable of would be like shifting another video with a timestamp to show her there.
Yeah.
To lie, just moving a video and saying like, and just having it in the system at the wrong timestamp,
Yeah.
so that it looks like she was up there, and they would assume they didn't happen to also check entering the mines at the same time. That would be, I think, the easiest, technologically speaking, solution.
I know I mentioned this last episode, but just Emerson just going, yeah, I'm going to tell you everything. I'm just going to go along and answer all of your questions. Like, Amundsen was spinning in his grave right now. You're a judicial goon. You don't just go along and answer everybody's questions.
I mean, maybe that's what needed to happen.
Honestly, Emerson, you are letting the site down.
All right. Abby says, the vault is not at the top. The mines aren't in the down deep. Walker's workshop is low, but they have pulley systems now. They still had to carry Bernie up to her place. I would rather. So that's about, I guess, the jetpacking, saying that it's, that distances aren't necessarily as far as people think, because I think a lot of people also think back to Marnes and Johns doing the walk down, and they had to spend the night down there before going back up. But I think that's also because of their age.
Yeah, and they did, like Abby is saying, they also went to the very bottom of this. They also went as far. They didn't go to the very bottom of the silo. They went to what they thought of as the bottom of the silo.
Yeah. And so if, for instance, Nox going to the mines, that's going about 70 levels from, I think 140 is Martha's workshop and 70 is where we heard the mines entrance was.
Yeah. And like we said before, Nox is a big strapping fit guy. So
he can do that. He's also going up. Oh, that is the question. I guess he is going up to, because he and Shirley are working at the Gap, which I've been assuming is outside IT at 19. But I'm not 100% sure. I might just be making an assumption because that's when a prior explosion, that's where it happened. The one 140 years ago. Or the one in Silo 17.
Yeah.
I'm confusing book stuff as well. But Abby says, I would rather question how come Cammy just find out about her workshop, as that wouldn't be the first place to look. Jetpacking does occur prominently in another show also. Yeah, we know. House of the Dragon. But how does Cammy find out about why would she know about Martha's workshop? I think because people followed Sims and saw Sims go in there.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. Abby says, I love the character moments, the pairs. Helen and Danny in the car wasn't boring to me. They needed those moments together. Cheryl and Knox deciding to have a baby isn't unbelievable, as they were maybe convinced that the rebellion is over and there's a good change. They just found out about all of the shenanigans. That's true. There's a gap between when the rebellion ended and the more recent we might all die thing. One pair still on hold, but we have 4 more episodes that will happen through a radio. The Papa Knox thing is introduced for a reason, it seems, so I don't think he is dead. Wonder what they are doing in the mines where all the thieves are sent for punishment. Big thief convention, LOL. That's true. I saw a post somewhere, I don't remember where it was, but someone was like about Anthony getting sent to supply if he's kicked out of school. And someone was like, so you get kicked out of school for stealing and you're sent to supply, and they wonder what the problem is.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Yeah, they may not have thought that all the way through.
Peter H says, I really enjoyed the episode. I think it sets the table nicely for the final 4. Am I to understand Ed Harwood is also a jailer?
Yes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Love the Billings and Hank side quest. I would just say, I'm glad to see Shirley back to acting like a normal person. However, I fear for Knox. A lot of people fearing for Knox right now.
I've got a lot of people fearing for Knox, and I wasn't, but I am now.
Well, we know he's not supposed to be the one going outside now. So,
Yeah.
I was thinking about the Ed Harwood thing. He enjoys being in charge of
Oh, yeah.
being the jailer. He has a power trip about it, I feel like. And
Yeah,
just the way he
definitely.
said to, I hope you have a shovel because he died 2 years ago. Like that, if he were telling the truth about Knox's dad being dead, that's the most dickish way as possible to deliver that news.
Yeah. Well, Ed Harwood don't like people that aren't named Harwood, basically.
I think you're right. Peter H says, I think the radio will be a key part of the remaining plot. In general, I thought they kept all the balls in the air and moving without dropping any. There are a lot of great character pairings. How do you want to say this one?
Yeah, that guy.
NCHNPSNT says, I liked the episode. I don't mind the teleportation of characters. It kind of happens in all stories nearing the end. I am looking forward to where they take all three storylines, especially to see how they connect the critical supply plot to the main story. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. And the TCS says, I really enjoyed this episode. I especially enjoyed the Julia and Camille battle. I agree with Abby that it seems unusual that Camille wouldn't head straight for Walker's place. I feel there would have been a well-known gathering location. Oh, so TCS is kind of saying the opposite. Yeah, and saying that it would have been a well-known gathering place and I think Camille's just disconnected from the Down Deep. Like
Yes.
she just, and that just goes to show that she is in fact disconnected from the Down Deep, because that's something every Down Deeper would know. But she's just like, I don't know what those people do. They eat babies down there. Yeah.
Let's not forget, Camille is still quite new to the position of head of IT. And she's had a hell of a lot of information and a hell of a lot of stress just dropped on her.
That's true.
So she's not always going to make, she's still sort of learning. She's still sort of learning the role, if you like.
Yeah.
And also, she never had the opportunity to shadow anybody. Like, she literally just became the head of, I mean, yes, she worked in IT, but there's a big difference between that and running IT.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, yeah, she's a managerial thing. She's no longer making code or whatever she was doing before. She's, yeah, it's a managerial position, and one that comes with a lot of mind-breaking secrets. Yeah, mind and heartbreaking.
Yeah, so the fact that she's not always like jumping to the proper conclusions shouldn't be surprising.
And the TCS also says jetpacking rarely bothers me, so little that I didn't even notice or realize at this episode. And I'll say I was the same. I didn't really think about it, but I think it's something I see complained about a lot more on Reddit, and I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Spaceman 94 says, overall, I enjoy this episode quite a bit. Together with last week's episode, they kind of returned the spark for me. I was fairly down on this season before. The storylines are moving, folks are communicating, all pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah. I wasn't down on the series before, but I do think episode 6 sort of gave us a bit more momentum.
Yeah.
Like you said, your analogy with the roller coaster, I think, is a good one.
Yeah, it's been definitely picking up momentum as it goes on. And that is how this usually works. Like, it had a really strong start, as the books do, but then each season has been building and like rebuilding, I think, also for audiences, because there's a lot of moving parts and characters, and audiences need to be reintroduced to all of that. And also, given there's a lot of lore in the show, which is probably one reason why I like it so much. And so there has to be a lot of not only explanations but demonstrations of how things work, so that it makes sense how they click together later in a way that makes you go, whoa,
Yeah.
Spaceman says, just the entire present day storyline has been a slog for me. The character work is great, but I need some plot. Okay. And I'll say, like, I've noticed, just because I do the recaps, I think it's a lot less of each episode than people realize.
Yes. Yeah, I would say so. And
I
mean,
actually wish there was more, and then there would be more time for moving, but they've been giving a lot of space to 18. Yeah, sorry.
And I do take your point about plot. All I will say is that if that's the case, I don't think episode 7 is going to disappoint you.
Yeah. Spaceman says, small quip, I don't think Camille is a good antagonist. Just doesn't work for me. Like, I said, I think she's more of a prisoner in a situation than an antagonist. I feel like the voice is more of the antagonist, and she's like the instrument in between being played.
Oh no, I disagree with both. I think she's a good antagonist.
Okay. And what do you like about her as an antagonist?
She's smart. She's capable. She is ruthless. She wouldn't have got, if she hadn't been ruthless, she wouldn't have got here. I think the way that the show has inverted the dynamic in the Sims marriage, where it's very much, in particularly the first season, but arguably in the first 2 seasons, it was Camille that was the primary caregiver to Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And even though she had a career, she was actually, the gender roles were quite traditional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way it's played with that this season has been quite cool, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing Robert Sims as Anthony's primary caregiver, yeah. And also becoming like much more with the threat of the getting drugs, becoming much more paternal. I think is actually quite interesting.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. And Spaceman concludes, also, I read the books a few years ago, but I still got no idea what's going on, which is pretty great. Smiley face. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've read the books quite recently and reread bits of them each week, but it's still, I like that the show keeps me on my toes and keeps me invested. I'm invested in both seeing the things I know are coming playing out. Like, I'm very excited about that, but I'm also having a great time with these new side plots that are added that I can see how some of them hook in, and some of them I'm like, I know this must relate to the larger thing.
Yeah, but where is this going? What? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I know, like, it's going to be the back half of the season is just going to be like all these points connecting together until it's all revealed in the finale. I mean, not all revealed, obviously, because there's another season left, but
yeah,
a lot. I think I can't wait. I haven't even seen the finale, but I still can't wait for people to react to it. I have a good feeling about what it's going to be about. Okay. And Motor Riders D says, I really like this episode. I'll be rewatching it soon. I understand the criticism of everyone getting everywhere really fast, but I'll give that a pass for getting more storylines moving along. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that's a really good point. You can complain about the jetpacking, or you can complain about the plot moving slowly, but you can't do both.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Loved that the voice was not answering quickly when curveballs were thrown at it. Interesting that it doesn't seem to know about Silo 17 and or heard anything discussed by Solo and Juliet. So yeah, I think that it just doesn't. I mean, there's no operating cameras in 17 anymore, is what I take.
Yeah.
From it.
Yeah. But is it wired into the other silos, like the other silos in which there are still people?
In what way do you mean?
Well, what I mean
can they
is,
communicate between them?
Can the algorithms in the different silos communicate with each other?
Oh, I see.
Or is there like one version of the algorithm that is looking in on all of the still functioning silos? Or are there an algorithm? Is there a separate AI in each silo? And if so, can they talk to each other?
Yeah, well, I'll just say what we know so far is that it all seems to be controlled from Silo 1. So what do you think?
Again, come back and listen to the episode 7 breakdown, because I have thoughts. But
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the question is out there, though. And then, but I would just say it is a bit of a difference in the Silo 17 side in that, and not really a difference, but because we know we got that flashback to Jimmy growing up in Silo 17 in Shift, you see that he did for a while. He was able to, in the book, where you can monitor people is connected to the vault. So he would like look around the silo while cameras still lasted and just check in on what was going on and listen in and things like that. But then eventually that all went out by the time, it just broke down and there was nobody fixing it or tending it or whatever. So by the time of Juliet showing up, it was all gone anyway. But we didn't see really any flashbacks to young Jimmy. So
not yet. Maybe we will in the 14 odd episodes we've got remaining over this season and next.
Yeah, we still didn't find out. Something was with his eye that it looked like an injury or something. So we still have to find out the story behind that, which will presumably be a flashback of some sort. So we'll see. But yeah. Regardless, I would say they assumed the silo was dead. They didn't know anyone was still left living there because there shouldn't be anyone still left living there. And the cameras are all out. So they can't verify, but they just were like, looks dead to me. Moving on,
Moving on.
Yeah, not a threat. Yeah, the question was, did we know Shirley was pregnant? It makes sense looking back, but I forgot if we got the official notice. And no, this was news this episode. We just saw her like looking, and then so we were all like, why are they focusing on this scar or whatever mark on her hip? And there was the theory that it was the birth control location, which good call. But then I realized at that same point, Knox came up behind her and like put his arms around her and he put his hands on her belly. But I'm terrible at clocking when characters are pregnant, apparently, because there's another show. I missed it on another show that's running right now that I missed it on as well until it was made more explicit. But I guess that was the hint. And this was the first time we got it confirmed. Yeah. He said, I thought it was funny that they haven't covered the branding for things in the before times, except for the minivan, which is a Toyota, but has a random dragon-looking logo on the steering wheel and hood instead. Like, they are not going to advertise for Toyota unless they are paid to do so.
Yeah, unless Toyota be paying, Toyota ain't getting free advertising.
Except through people who recognize cars and tell us. Senator Thurman asking you do you want to save the world? And here we were wondering if she was maybe forgetting things. Yeah, what are your thoughts about Senator Thurman after? I guess we can't.
Yeah, no, let's steer clear of that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think I was thinking, and I was saying this in the spoiler cast, that I think that Senator Thurman, the whole forgetting Charlotte's thing, I think it was more of a case of her just verifying that identity because she knew the mission she was attached to. And I suspect she knew something was different about it. And maybe I even wondered if like Charlotte was chosen as a test subject because of this or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I've got thoughts on Senator Thurman, but they're very much episode 7 thoughts, so I'm going to shut up.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder. I don't think she was really forgetting things by asking for Charlotte's name. I think it was just to point out that she was singling Charlotte out in some way. Maureen D says, I think it's sweet that the simple Pez dispenser is a meaningful object to Helen, especially because it's not innately of value. But it was fun and amusing to think of people in the future imbuing it with meaning when it may have just been a random object dropped by a child that somehow survived.
I think when you get in the mystery of the Pez, and like there's a whole couple of pages where it's describing like the physical properties of the Pez dispenser, and that is really funny.
Possible weapon, I think it says at one point, like in the diagram.
Some sort of creature, real or imaginary? Question mark.
Yeah, about the duck. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is funny. Yeah, I definitely recommend the short story. It's free. You can find it online if you haven't read it yet. About Bernard's good luck charm, I thought it might be a Wrigley's gum wrapper. It used to be a thing to fold them up into bracelets way back when, and I remember that.
Yeah, that is a very good call. It does look exactly like a Wrigley's gum wrapper, yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose like there's nothing with that sort of metallic paper now. I don't know.
Not really.
I would imagine that the thing about it, and I suppose that would be long gone after 355 years, would be the smell. It would smell like peppermints.
Yeah. Which
I don't know. We don't know if they have that. Maybe they do. And so Maureen said, I like the title of the episode, The Drive, being both about the disc and the car ride. That's a really good point, Maureen.
Yep.
And I hope we see Colin Hanks and Steve Zahn in the next episode, not only for plot points, but for some fresh air. Fair.
Tiny spoiler, we get to see one, but not the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. That's a fair tease.
Yeah.
And we will be back on Friday to discuss all of this with our coverage of episode 7, which we are both clearly chomping at the bit to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll do our final mailbag after the season concludes. So please we want to hear your thoughts and theories. Send them to we'llshiftustpodcast@gmail.com. You'll find that linked in the show notes as usual. We might, throw in some feedback in the episode, especially if it's emailed as we've done before, or otherwise, yeah, it'll be in the wrap up at this season finale. Please do jump into the Discord discussion. You'll find that linked in the show notes as well, where we're having lively discussions with spoiler chats per episode. So whatever episode you're on, don't worry about getting spoiled. There is a separate book spoiler chats for all of the book discussions. That one is, you might want to be caught up before jumping into that chat. But we do also have the book club. That is the Supercast and Patreon feeds, where you will get my and Abby's full book spoiler conversations, plus ad-free access to this and all other episodes, including separate breakdowns of the trailers and all that fun stuff. So deep lore dives, plus our holiday specials and all the other non-silo stuff that's in there as well. This week's topic is field trips. I will shout out thank yous to the new Silazins who join by the end of the next episode. But there's a new option if you don't want to do monthly. There are season passes. I've now added that option for Patreon as well, where you just get access to the episodes for a season or seasons of your choice for a one-time fee. And just a huge thank you to everyone who's done that. It means a lot to me. I put an enormous amount of time in this, and it's gotten tough to be a writer these days. So I really appreciate your help. I really appreciate the energy and enthusiasm that the community brings to just making this such a fun show to all experience together. Minor warning for Apple users with Patreon, that seems to be the combination. The two don't like to play nice together.
No, they don't.
That seems to be the most expensive option. So just
Yeah.
FYI, if you are an Apple user, you might want to consider something else. Supercast, I think, is maybe better, or just going through the web rather than the Apple app. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that issue with other podcasts I subscribe to, like Patreon and Apple.
Yeah, it went up recently too.
Yeah, they seem to be like oil and water. Patreon and Apple don't really know what's going on there.
Yeah, it's about like they're frustrated with each other, and users are getting punished because of about who gets fees and rights and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So just because Apple's like, well, it's if you want to have our vast number of Apple subscribers, this is how you have to do it. Patreon's like, we have a website, we have our own app. Anyway. So Luke, any final thoughts? Where can people hear from you if they want to? Yeah.
I do another podcast called It Could Be Said with two friends from uni, Will Cooling and Simon Alvey. We podcast about once a month. Our last episode was looking at the UK's new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, his policies, challenges, what we think he's going to do. Trying to think. Yeah, we will probably be recording the next episode in about a week or so. So you can find us on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, cool. And you can also find me on the Lorehounds. You'll find that linked in the show notes, thelorehounds.com. You'll find all of the affiliates, including my own, the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast, the brand new Cosmere Corner, Never Mind the Music, where music meets psychology, and the Lorehounds, the Big Papa feed where there is weekly House of the Dragon coverage going on. Plus, there is recently a Supergirl episode. There's a Spider-Man Brand New Day episode coming out. Lots of other stuff. An Into the West tribute to Sam Neill. So yeah, quite busy on that feed always. You'll find that in the show notes. And you'll find us on Friday. Bye.
Yep.
Okay, Luke, now that everyone else is gone, I'll meet you in the silo bunker for the light bulb party in an hour?
Shh.
Sorry.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.